Well, we finally got to the point that we are going to do all the overall body work on our Mustang. Now, for anybody that doesn't know what Mustang this is the infamous Rustang that we completely went through from head to toe, top to bottom, front to back, inside and out. So I encourage you to watch all the videos on this car, and you'll see what it actually took to get it to this point. But once again, what we're going to do is we are going to do all the major body work. And to be honest with you, after replacing basically every panel on this car with new or used, I might say, there's not a lot of body work to be done. These are brand new quarter panels that we installed on it, so naturally we'll have to do body work around the areas where we tied the quarter panel in. It has some roof damage, of course. We didn't replace the roof. Somebody used a slide hammer, drilled holes in it over there on that side. I had to weld all the holes up. Typical on a Mustang, it's dented in this area here all the way across. Here's a dent that actually is a high spot. It's a high spot, meaning that it was dented from the inside and knocked it out. And this must have had a major dent because, and there were some other ones over there, they used a 1/8 inch drill, an 1/8 inch drill bit, and then what you use is a slide hammer. Now what a slide hammer is this thingamajig right here. What you do is you drill an 1/8 inch hole, and then you take this very protruding and ignorant screw that is attached to this slide hammer, and you screw it in there, and then you would slide the hammer out. It's a slide hammer, you knock it out that way. And then most people that would repair a vehicle that way, they would basically get the dent pulled out like you see right here, and then they just Bondo it up and let the Bondo fill the holes in. We had some damage, speaking of doors, we had some damage in this area. I had to weld that up and get it all lined up. So we got to do major body work in this area here, which ain't really no big deal. This is probably the worst panel now that we're looking at this door, because this was the original door that came with the car when it came to my shop. And you can see where I've already started marking off my road map. There's a spot up here. Of course, all that down there. We got 3 or 4 spots down on the bottom. The rocker panels themselves, they're going to need repaired. We got these fenders, and that's what I'm getting ready to do, is take the fenders off. These fenders are actually factory OEM fenders that we bought used. They're very good shape fenders. This fender itself has only got damage in 3 spots, and then the rest of it is really good shape. I forgot to repair the rust, so I got 2 rust holes that I got to repair. Actually, 1 rust hole that I got to repair, and then we need to spot weld all of the emblem holes up, because this is actually a GT car, and the only emblem that goes on the fender is the factory OEM Mustang GT emblem.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
Start with this fender. I'll go ahead and take this fender off. I'm going to weld the holes up, the emblem holes on this. I don't believe there was any rust in this fender, but we're going to double check just to make sure. And then once I get done doing that and repairing that, I will bolt the fender back on the car and line it up where I want it. fender unbolted. Let's go ahead and get it off the car. And then we're going to stick it up here. All right, so what we got to do first is we got to remove these barrel clips. That's what actually holds the emblems in place on a Ford. Now, I will tell you, I actually like the Ford mechanism using the barrel clips better than having the speed nuts on the back of the emblem. And the reason is because if you have to replace the emblem or you need to take it off to paint your car, you can always just pry the emblem off from the outside of the fender very easily and simply, and you still have your barrel clips installed. All right, so to remove our barrel clips, what we're going to do is we're going to use our 36 grit Rollo lock. But before we do that, I want to let everybody know, make sure you got your safety glasses on. And then I always wear ear protection. I'm getting old and I'm starting to hear ringing in my ear every time I hear something. So I don't know what's going on with that idea, but I need to protect what I got left of my hearing. All right, now that we've went ahead and removed the barrel clips out of the fender where our emblems were, we're going to go ahead and grind the top of our fender to reveal the bare metal where we're going to be welding up the holes. And then while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and grind a section down on the lower part of the fender for our ground for our welder. Now, normally when I weld these holes up, what I do is I take a 2-hammer system, and when I say that, I got this hammer here, which has a point on the end, and then I take another hammer, and then what I'll do, I will take the point of the hammer, I'll line it up, and then I'll tap it, just like that. But with these holes being so small, I don't want to make a large crevice. By using this hammer on these small holes and then hitting it, it will make a large crevice where I'll have to do more body work. So what I'm going to do is I normally get a couple chisels. You can see here's 2 different styles. And then I will see how far this goes in. And that looks like if I use this one, it's actually going to make the hole bigger. And you can basically see what I'm talking about. If I went ahead and used that chisel, it would probably make the hole bigger. It would knock it in, but it would also make it bigger, and it would make it harder to weld, and I'd have to weld more up. So we're going to go ahead and take this chisel right here. You can see how I grinded it down. I kind of made a little point out of it. And this one here is good to use for this. And then what we'll do is we'll just barely tap it in. That's all you want to do is just a light tap, just like that. And another reason we're tapping on them with the chisel is because once in a while, and I can see where it is right here, I don't know if you can see that from where the camera is, but part of the barrel clip is still in the fender. And then that's all we need to do. And if you take your hand, you'll be able to rub it and see if you went far enough down. We need to do that to weld these small holes up, because what we're going to do is when we weld that, we're going to take our puddle of weld and then we'll fill in the crevice that we made, so when we grind it down, we'll only need very, very minor body work. I also noticed down here, we got some rivets in this area that are not supposed to be there. So I'll go ahead and grind those out. And then there's times where the rivets won't come out. So what you got to do then is you got to take a small drill bit and you got to drill the rivets out to get that hole cleaned out so you can weld it. Just like that. And then here's another one right here. And here's one right here. All right, now that those holes are cleaned out using our drill, we're going to go ahead and use our chisel method to go ahead and knock the holes in, just like we did on the top ones. And then I think we'll be ready to weld. So just a light tap, that's all you need. And I'm going to go ahead and explain something to you very quickly. If you are in the process of getting your car restored at a restoration shop or possibly a paint and body shop that might do collision repair as well, you really need to stay on top of them, especially about fixing stuff like this. Remember when I showed you the roof up there, the holes from the slide hammer? Well, what a lot of guys will do is they will pound those in and then they'll bondo them up. All right? That's what a lot of people will do when they're restoring it. A professional restoration requires welding, people. And that's exactly what we're going to do with these. We are not going to fill these small holes in with Bondo and get away with it. So 4, 5, 6 years from now it falls out or it creates moisture behind it and rusts. And then of course maybe the car's been sold by then or it's been so long the owner ain't going to come back anyway. Who gives a shit? Fuck off. We don't care. We got your money type situation. Just saying, okay? Just saying. Okay, there's one thing that I do while I'm welding, and that is use a sponge. And when I say that, this is the sponge we're talking about right here. This is a sponge that I use all the time. You can see that I use it a lot. And after each little weld, what I'll do, or it won't be after each little weld, but in between welds, what I do is I take that sponge and I cool the metal down. And that keeps it from warping or shrinking or sinking to make me do more body work. So it's always good to have a sponge handy when you're doing this type of work. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start with these holes down here. I always like to use a flashlight. That way when I'm using my helmet, I can see a lot clearer where I don't overweld. I also have my sponge up here that I just dipped into the bucket of water, and we're ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and weld these up real quick. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check to make sure that there's no air or space that I missed. And what I do, we take our flashlight like this, and then we're going to stick it behind here like that. And I see a little air hole. I see some light coming through on this one and this one. So what I'll do is I will weld that up. Just spot weld it. There was another one right here. Okay, I see a hole on this one and that one. And when I'm saying a hole, I'm talking like microscopic. But to do it right, you really got to make sure that you weld it right. You don't want to screw your customer around or possibly yourself by doing a shit show job. Alright, I found by using a flapper disc versus the 3M Rolo-Lock disc, let me go ahead and show you that. I found that using this disc initially before I used my Rolo-Lock disc really helps out a lot, and it keeps the heat down. That's the main thing when you're welding these little holes up, is to keep the heat down so you don't have warpage. Once again, we got our sponge down here. It's right here, and after we get done doing our initial grinding, I will use my sponge to cool the metal down. take my Rolo-Lock and I'm going to go over this just to clean it up and make sure that everything's in order the way we want it. Since this area right here needs some body work, I'm going to go ahead and clean it up now while it's off the car. I also got a little clip right here. We'll be cutting that off and getting rid of that. We'll be keeping that hole right there. That's actually for the factory molding that goes on there. This fender is ready. This fender's done. I'm going to go ahead and repeat my process on the other fender. But what you just saw, you saw the situation. You saw what it takes to actually do it right. If you have a fender, if you have emblems that need to be welded up, holes, that's how you do it. Now, I'm going to have to do some minor body work. I can feel that right here, but it's going to be very, very minimal. Very, very minimal. I'm talking probably using polyester filler and just skimming it just to get rid of the unevenness. That's it. If you do it the way I just showed you how to do it, you're going to get her done. You're going to do it right, do it right, do it right, because if you're not doing it right, you definitely aren't doing it at all, bitch. And that's the fucking truth.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.